Problem 1 on your study guide asked for a definition of what is absolute value. Since we gave you a definition sheet at the very beginning of the unit, I'm going to allow you to refer back to your definitions or access your online textbook or your consumable textbook to come up with a good definition for absolute value. So now we'll look at problem 2. Problem 2 says if x is positive, what will be the answer to x plus x plus x in terms of positive or negative? And generally, anytime I see a problem like this, I'm just going to plug in a value for x. So it says that if x is positive, I'm going to call x positive 2. Will the answer to x be positive or negative? Well, now I will plug in positive 2 for each one of these x's. So 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals 6. 6 is a positive term, so my solution is positive. Number 3, if x is negative. So now I'm going to use the term negative 2. So for each of the x's, I will put in a negative 2. And so now we'll have negative 2 plus negative 2 plus negative 2 would equal negative 6. So my solution is going to be negative. For number 4, it asks if x is positive, will the answer be positive or negative? Again, I'm going to plug in a positive 2 into this expression. So for each x, I will replace it with a 2. 2 minus x value of 2 minus x value of 2. If you need to, you can rewrite this expression using the additive inverse process. So we could say 2 plus now negative 2 plus now negative 2. And we would get a negative 4 for our negative values and a positive 2. Our difference is negative 2. Now remember, a lot of times we take these problems and put them into a t-chart just so that you can see the negative value. So I would have plus on this side, minus on this side. I have one positive value in my expression now. I have two negative values. So negative 2 is negative 4. Positive 2 comes down. 2 minus 4 is negative 2. So our solution now for number 4 will result in a negative answer. Number 5, if x is positive, will this expression be positive or negative? Again, I will do a positive 2. And this one I need to be real careful of where I'm putting my number in. I'm going to have the negative value of x, my x value is 2, times negative value of x, again is a positive 2, times negative value of x is a positive 2. Now I need to clean up all of these parentheses. So a negative outside the parentheses with a positive 2 inside the parentheses will distribute the negative in, and that will simplify to negative 2. Times, same thing, negative 2. Again, the same thing, times negative 2. And now we just need to remember our integer rules for multiplying and dividing positive and negative numbers. A negative times a negative will result in a positive. So negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. But then we're taking that positive 4 and multiplying it by another negative 2. 4 times negative 2 is then negative 8. So our solution for this one will be negative. If x then is negative, in other words, like negative 2, and again, I'm going to plug it into my parentheses. Negative, x value is negative 2, times negative, an x value of negative 2, times a negative x value of negative 2. And here we need to remember that when multiplying a negative times a negative, it cancels to become a positive. So all three of these negatives times negatives will become positive. So I'll have positive 2 that will drop out here, times a positive 2 that will drop out there, times a positive 2 again for our third term. We'll have 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, and that is positive. So our solution for number 6, we should have gotten positive. Hopefully that gave you a good understanding of how to be able to solve problems like this. You don't always have to think of them in terms of x's, but rather substitute an x value in that will be easy for you to solve the expression.